Hey everyone, sorry about the delay. We wanted to go live a few minutes earlier, but we're having some technical difficulties with getting connected. So we're live right now on both Facebook and Instagram, I believe. We should be at least. Yes, looks like we're working right now. My name is Madison. I'm the founder of Health by Ratio. We are a completely online program, and my team of licensed physical therapists, functional movement coaches, and corrective exercise specialists, along with functional health coaches and nutrition coaches, we work in a very unique way, like I said, all online, in helping our clients get their bodies back to moving in full range of stable motion so that they can pursue whatever kind of activities that they want and move away from chronic pains and injuries. And our whole mission is teaching our clients how to be in self-control over their own body. And one of the things that we're always talking to, especially our new clients, about is the importance of stretching and how it really isn't that important. Of all the things that we have our clients do, stretching is the least important thing. And I could choose from a million of our clients for this example. But I'm going to use one of our clients, Ted, who actually just graduated our program. And Ted has made some amazing strides in his body and how it feels and his control over his aches and pains in and around his back. But he's a golfer who also is not just trying to get healthy so his back wouldn't be aggravating him anymore, but it was also so that he would be able to increase his range of motion in and around his golf swing and be able to improve his golf game some more. And so for our perspective, whenever we're working with an athlete who needs to increase their range of motion that way, or just a general person, like maybe not an athlete, just somebody who wants to stay healthy and active, but needs to increase their range of motion to achieve those goals, meaning they got some real big tightnesses around the body, then one of the big things that we got to teach them is, look, stretching might seem like the thing that's going to get you to where you want to go, and there is a point where stretching is going to benefit you. It's not that it's a complete waste of time. It's not that they're not appropriate for you. It's just that there's some grunt work we need to do before we can even get the benefits from our stretches, period. So one of the big factors and I would say the number one factor that impacts our ability to get benefits from a stretch is fascia. And for those of you that aren't aware of what fascia is this microscopic webbing that runs from head to toe in these gigantic, massive strands throughout the entire body. And it's this interconnected web that runs from the surface of your skin to the bone and everywhere in between. And so if you've ever had like steak or chicken, you cut into it and you separate it apart and you see kind of that white webbing that's holding on, that's fascia. That's what it is. And fascia can end up becoming the second densest substance in the body next to bone. Meaning when it gets matted down, when it gets gunked up, when it gets bound up, it's really, really tough stuff. It's firmer than muscle. It's firmer than ligaments. It's firmer than tendons. It is some really, really dense stuff. And so fascia, because it runs everywhere, it can get gunked up for a couple of reasons. The first reason that we can get fascial gunk in the system is from a massive injury. So we've gotten hurt, we had massive tearing around an area of the body, and what grows back that we all have heard the term before? Scar tissue. We've all heard of scar tissue. So that scar tissue buildup around the area is fascia growing back in these weird ways, these weird rat's nest kind of ways, to basically create our own cast in our own body. So it's trying to support that injured area so that it doesn't move too much. So fascia is forming there in these weird ways just to try to get some stability around it. That's one reason why we have fascial gunk that occurs. The second reason is the more common reason though. It's from poor blood flow, poor hydration, poor movement quality. So when we don't move in full ranges of motion on a regular basis, like if all we do is get up, walk around, sit down, and type, and then get up and go unload the dishwasher, and then we go up and we do some more work and talk on the phone and sit in the car and that kind of stuff. It might feel like we're moving a lot, but at no point did you really ever raise your arm over your head. Or at no point did you ever really extend your legs significantly behind you. Or at no point did you go into a forward fold in a significant way. Like we never worked like a deep range of motion in any of our joints. So we're limited. And that limitation is going to create a limited restricted blood flow. And the worse our hydration is around our tissues, the more those deep layers of fascia can start getting matted down and stuck together. They can get really gunked up and bound up and tough. So, why do we care about this? What matters? Well, when you have these fascial knots, when you got gunk in and around your system, and you try to stretch out a muscle tissue, it makes a huge impact to what percentage of that muscle is able to actually stretch. So, an easy illustration of this, and I steal this all the time from Katie Bowman, who is an amazing biomechanist who has a great book called Move Your DNA, and actually a couple others that I highly recommend, but Move Your DNA I love in particular. But she uses this illustration in there where stretching out normal tissue is like taking your shirt, like a cotton shirt with nothing on it, and pulling it. And that shirt has a certain amount of elasticity to it. We can pull it to a certain point, and it's able to. But it's now saying that we now have a piece of muscle tissue that has fascial gunk in it, is now saying like we've taken that same cotton shirt and we put swabs of paint on it, and we let that paint dry down and mat down to the actual fabric. And then we try to actually pull that thing apart. Well, obviously, everything but the paint swabs is actually being a stretch in the shirt. The paint swabs, that fabric area is stuck, it's matted, it's not doing anything, and everything else is overstretching to try to compensate. Well, that's what happens when you have fascial gunk in you. So what we first need to do, before we can really get the benefits of stretching, because otherwise the areas that are most impacted, the tightest areas of your body, they never get the benefits of stretching because they're so stubborn. That paint swab is still there. How we do that is we got to bust up that paint swab. We got to take a jackhammer to that area and we got to break it up. And how do we do that? That's where that foam roller that's been collecting cobwebs in the corner of the house or in your workout room or whatever, that's where this thing comes into place. Even more effectively for a lot of other areas of the body, it is a simple trigger point ball set. These things cost like a whole set of trigger point balls is like $20. You can get these on Amazon. They're dirt cheap. You can get a lacrosse ball. That's one. You can get a peanut. That's like 2 lacrosse balls connected together. It's great on either side of the spine. And then you can get like a 5-inch ball or equivalent to like a softball. These are also things that you can find lying around the house. Like a golf ball can do some stuff like this. A baseball, a softball. If you have a lacrosse ball, all the above, like they're inexpensive, and most of the stuff you can actually just find around. But you want a couple of trigger point balls and you want a foam roller. And that's going to basically allow you to work any area of your body just like a masseuse can get into any nooks and crannies of your body. With a few exceptions here and there, but for the most part, like 99% of it, you can do yourself in the right position. Those things are going to be your tools. That's going to be how you find the gunk and break it down. The other thing is, how do we even know if we found gunk? How do we know if we actually are finding that paint swab in the tissue? Well, it's a really simple rule of thumb, is no tissue on your body, no soft tissue on your body should hurt with a normal amount of pressure on it. So meaning, if I could basically say, I should be able to take this lacrosse ball and lay on it, on any part of my body, anywhere, and there should be no pain associated to it. For those of you who've done some trigger point and foam rolling before, you might think, yeah, that's not even close. It's almost like I can't lay on any spot that doesn't hurt. Everything hurts when I can find a point of tension, any part of my body. Yeah, that's probably the case. Like for Ted, that was his case. Basically every spot of him, he could find some gunk. So that's normal. But if you find pain, if you're rolling on it, you feel soreness on that area, that means you found some a part of the body that has some fascial restrictions, and we got to break it up. An exception to that is if it's extreme pain. So meaning like if you hit a nerve in a funky angle and you feel like a shooting pain up and down the leg or up and down the shoulders, that's an indication that you landed on a nerve. You got to ease up off of it. You got to change your position and tackle it from a different angle. And I'm going to keep talking. It's just my wife got home and my dogs are going to want to see it. Hey girls, come on. You're going to want to go say hi to Danielle. Go ahead. Come on, pups. Go say hi. Good girls. All right, so continuing on with what we're talking about. With regards to fascial knots, Your rule of thumb is if you find pain, you found some gunk, you found some restriction, so we can release it. And once you release it, then we can actually get some benefits to the stretch. That's when we've broken up some of that gunk and we're actually able to get, like I said, some actual impacts to the whole tissue when we're stretching, as opposed to that matted down gunk that prevents certain parts of the tissue from benefiting, and the other areas that aren't matted down, that aren't gunked up, those guys are now overstretching and overcompensating. So here's an easy example for my runners out there. Most of you, and for those of you even who aren't runners, you're probably going to find this this area knotted up. We're going to do a quick release of the calf. And this one's an easy one. Get your foam roller out. Most of us have that. If you don't have a foam roller, get a water bottle and lay it on the side. And what we're going to do is cross one leg up over the other. And I'll turn myself a little bit more sideways so you guys can see it at a different angle. And that 1 foot over the other is just going to give us a little bit of pressure, a little bit more weight on top of this foam roller. And now I'm going to basically get my butt up just a couple inches, then I'm going to start rolling down the ground, rolling down toward the foam roller, so that the foam roller is traveling up my calf and Achilles right now. And so right around here, this is where I feel a bit of soreness, a bit of tension. Like, it's not incredibly unbearable, but it's probably like a good 5 or a 6 out of 10 right now. I'm like, all right, I got some gunk there. So now I know that I have a fascial knot there. I'm going to get into a position where I can relax. So I'm sitting down on the ground. I'm going to try to get into a position where I have the most weight from my off leg kind of pushing down on top of it, so I can still apply that constant pressure. I don't want to ease up. I want to create constant pressure on this fascial knot. And then there's a bunch of things that we can do to release this thing even faster. So the things that we teach our clients how to do is create more of a proprioceptive effect of it. So we have them doing certain breath work, certain contractions and relaxations, and certain movement patterns on every spot of their body, which makes this thing way easier to release and way faster to release, and much more effective in how the body responds to it. This ankle is, I should say calf, is a pretty easy one to do with your ankle. So what we're going to do is take a deep breath in, and as we deep breath in, we're going to expand the belly. We're going to fill up the diaphragm. We're going to hold that breath for 5 seconds at the top, and when we are, we're going to tighten up this calf. So we're going to think, brace this lower leg and tighten everything up as much as we can. And when we do that engagement, I want to ease up off of the foam roller a little bit. So I'm not completely off of it. I'm still going to have my pressure on that area, but I'm not going to push as hard onto it while I'm tensing the muscle. I'll hold that for 5 seconds, and then on the exhale, I'm going to melt into it, relax the body fully, and try to see if I can get a little bit deeper into that area. And that's when I might push a little bit harder with the top leg and see if I can really release into it. And then I'll relax into it for about a breath or so, and then I'll repeat that process a couple more times. So let's go through it really fast. So deep breath in. Hold for 5 seconds, tighten up the whole area, ease up on the foam roller. Should feel easier right now, not so painful, not so bad. And then exhale, relax the leg, push onto it a little bit further. See if I can get into it and dig into that spot just a little bit more. See, for me already, that one little contraction and relaxation made a big difference. I already don't feel nearly as sore. For some of you, that might not have made a big difference. You might need a few more rounds. But let's do it again. Deep breath in. Brace the whole thing, tighten, tighten, tighten. And then exhale, melt onto it, push onto it a little bit further, see if that makes a difference. And again, you can do this as few as 1 or 2 times, or as many as 5 or 6 times. So keep going through that contraction and relaxation pattern until you feel a little bit less soreness. It should be less intense. Once I get to that point, like right now, my calf doesn't feel nearly, like it's not a 5 or a 6 out of 10, it's probably like a 2 out of 10 right now. So now I felt a difference, I felt the release there. So I'm going to keep applying pressure to it, but now I'm going to start exploring movements while I'm on this. So I'm still in the same spot, but I'm going to start pulling my toes up and pointing them down. And I'm going to work into maybe some ankle circles. And I'm basically just trying to explore different positions that may bring up some more tension. Like if I turn my foot in this way, I might be like, that's a little bit more intense there. Okay, I'm going to work that angle a little more. Or if I turn my foot out to the side, maybe that's the case. Or when I point my toe or pull my toe, it doesn't matter. We're just exploring. There is no right or wrong here. But we're just trying to teach this area of the body to fully release. And so right now, I've done some movements, I've done some contractions and relaxations. This knot is basically gone. I don't feel anything in there anymore. Now I can move on to the next spot. So and then I'd reboot and get started with that same scroll through and work through it. Now, for many of you guys that are runners and just enjoy walking and hiking and all that kind of stuff, you probably are going to find one of the more intense spots is going to be the top outside of your calf. This is a main go-to spot for us to release. And so for this area, you're going to position the foam roller pretty high up on your calf, and then we're going to consciously rotate our foot out to the side. So now the foam roller is more underneath the outside of my calf. And when I apply pressure there, that's where you might find much more tension, much more gunk. That's from walking and running gait deviations that many of us have. It activates this area of the calf quite a bit. So you will potentially feel some good tension there, and you go through the same brace sequences and relax, and brace sequence and relax, and then go through the same movement patterns, just kind of exploring on that outside corner of the calf on each side, and you'll get some great releases. Now, I've actually foam rolled. I foam rolled this area. I've released some fascia. Now I can actually stretch out this calf and Achilles, and I'll get some benefits to it. Now it's going to respond. Now I can get into a quick calf stretch, and I'll feel much more ease into this area. It's much more of a deep stretch that affects the entire calf, as opposed to if I'm really tight and bound up in certain areas, I might just feel this stretch in one spot versus another. Now I feel this entire deep calf getting pulled open right now. So now stretching isn't a waste of time. Now I'm actually getting some benefits to this thing. And even better is when you accrue some consistent releases throughout your whole body on a consistent basis, where you're working on not just your calves, but you're also working on your quads and your adductors and your hamstrings and your hip flexors and your glutes and your lower back and your mid back and your shoulder girdle. And you do that and then you stretch, your whole body cooperates so much differently. And that's what our clients do. That's what Ted did, is we taught him how to turn point and foam roll all around his ankles, all around his hips, all around his shoulder girdle, and everywhere in between, so that he was able to release these fascial tensions and actually get some benefits from his stretching. And then we partnered that up with some corrective exercises to stabilize him correctly and strengthen him up correctly so that it was supporting his body. And that's what enabled him to not only get in control over the health of his back, but also for him to be able to play golf at a much different level with different ranges of motion and way more control over the ball and way more power. So, and this has happened time and time again with our clients over and over again. That's why for almost everyone, we start them off with a big focus on learning how to foam roll and trigger point all their hot spots around their body. Because if we can ungunk you, then that gives us the range of motion that we need to actually move the right way. Then it's just about teaching you how to move correctly. Now, that's a whole different topic for a different day, but this in and of itself releases tensions, and it actually allows you to get your benefits of stretching. So I hope you guys like this Facebook Live and Instagram Live. If you guys have any questions on this and you want to know more about it, feel free to write in the comments and be happy to get back to you on it. Or if you have any other topics you want us to cover on future Facebook Lives, feel free to write them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. As well as in the notes on this, we'll update afterwards our Linktree URL, which allows you to see not only our website and testimonials and that kind of stuff, but also gives you some free resources like our free masterclass, where you can check out a much more extensive presentation on all these topics I talked about, as well as even more in terms of reconditioning your body to functional health, and as well as a link to our calendar if you want some true one-on-one help with myself and my team. You can schedule up a free consultation call with us, and we'd be happy to connect with you over phone and also over a free video assessment to analyze your posture and your body and how it's moving and figure out where is this gunk. Because many of us have a whole lot of gunk and a whole lot of spots. And like I said, you can easily tell. Put some pressure on it, and does it hurt? If it hurts, that means you got some gunk there. So we can help kind of define where your big problem spots are, and more importantly, game plan with you how to correct it. So all of those resources are there for you. And then outside of that, guys, look forward to doing our Facebook Lives ongoing in the coming weeks on new topics. And so we'll see you next Wednesday as well. And have a great rest of your week in the meantime. See you, everybody.